Good morning, everyone. So, three ideas to increase the value of your business. As you look to improve or to start a business, having a conversation about profitability early can be a game changer. So, whether you're a business owner already in business, looking to sell, considering to sell, or an aspiring entrepreneur searching for that profitable business to invest in, starting with a business broker can uplevel the entire game. So, relax, sit back, and let's get started. Let's go. Good morning, everyone. So, this morning, we are going to have a great business broker on, Adrianna Smith. By the way, I've been calling her that because I have another friend with the same spelling trying to steal her name. Um, we're going to have her on this morning. She's a business broker, M&A advisor. She's with First Choice Business Brokers up in Southern California, and she's here to share with us. I'm really excited. Thank you so much, Adriana, not Adriana, for being on the show.
Good morning, Paula. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for reaching out, by the way, because this idea of selling your business, I think people think of it as the end, but they forget about that journey in the middle of profitability and important changes that needs to be made along the way. So that we're all on the same page, because I love you business owners out there, but sometimes you don't ask things because you don't want to seem foolish. So I love to ask those questions for you.
That's great.
Adriana, what is a business broker exactly?
Well, a business broker is really a coach.
Oh,
I liken it to being an athlete going to the Olympics, right? It's this once in a lifetime event, right? Selling your business is usually a once in a lifetime event, and you work decades and decades. And then now you have this one event that's going to fuel your retirement. So if it's that important, you don't want to go alone. And so, what we do as business brokers is we value your company, we take it out for a confidential sale process, we negotiate the deal with buyers, but most importantly, we're the glue that keeps the deal together because undoubtedly there's obstacles and hurdles that occur in every business transaction, and having someone who's skilled, experienced, and knowledgeable about how to get past those is what can make or break a deal.
I just thought of something. When's an ideal time for a business owner to reach out to you? Is it when they're right? I'm retiring next year. I want to do this. Or is it further into the process?
Yeah. I mean, the earlier the better, and to your point at the beginning of the show, because what often happens when people come to me and they're already ready to sell or they need to get out this year or even next year, there's not enough time for them to make certain changes in the business in order to get that higher value and get a maximum return on their business. So if people can talk to me, even 2, 3 to 5 years before, we have different types of packages and services depending on how far you are away from selling. So it's invaluable to check in early.
Absolutely. I mean, it seems like, even 5, 10 years, starting a relationship with you on a long term may be a really great idea. Fix all those problems early, right? But
Absolutely.
I know that we're in the age of baby boomers right now. Are those the folks that you're primarily seeing? It's like they're trying to retire, sell the business. Is
Yes, yes. The baby boomers are retiring. They're getting older. They need to sell their businesses, and they're also the generation that didn't really plan too much ahead. So often, they're the ones who are coming to me, and it's too late to make the changes. But they are typically the ones selling. Their kids don't want their businesses, right?
Yeah.
The kids these days want the sexy tech app businesses. They don't want dad's old manufacturing plant in Vernon kind of a thing. So that's, yeah, typically we're selling the baby boomers companies right now.
And I guess this rolls right into, how do you value a business? I mean, it's all these decades of work that they put into it. I guess like a house, like how do you value a business?
Yeah, valuing businesses is as much art as it is science. You'll hear appraisers say. There are, your standard valuation methods. There's an income method, there's a market method, and there's an asset method. But, in my world, and I'm dealing with a lot of companies, 50 million and under, which we would classify as small business, most of our deals are priced and valued based on transaction multiples. So, you'll see similar businesses that have sold, what are their implied multiples, and applying to your financial metric, which could be your profit, your adjusted cash flow, your EBITDA, earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, amortization. So that's why, there's the subjectivity of what type of cash flow we're using, right? How do we calculate that? What sorts of owner perks are we removing from the expenses? How you normalize that cash flow. That's half the battle. And then what kind of a multiple are we selecting? That's where there's art. So typically, the higher the multiple means the company has more potential for growth, is more established, has more infrastructure, so the higher the better, of course. And companies lacking those get lower multiples.
So when you say multiples, are we talking about things like well-run operations, great employee structure, are the ownership of the building, are those multiples that you're referring to?
Well, all of those factors are considered in selecting a multiple. So for instance, for a company, like companies that are have less than $1 million in EBITDA, you're typically transacting between 2 to 3 times your EBITDA at that size level. As companies get larger, the multiples get larger, but just for that small segment. So, who deserves a 2 versus a 3? How do we pick? Right. And so, what goes into that is assessment of risk, right? So, the longer the business has been around, the reputation, the types of customers. Are your customers repeat customers? Well, that's worth more than the one-off customer that's never going to see you again. Whether you have established employees and management in place, versus the owner doing everything. So yes, so all of those factors come into play as to what size multiple a buyer's willing to pay you.
Okay, that makes perfect sense. So what are these buyers looking for when they're looking to buy a business, when they come to you? What are they saying?
Yeah. And I think that, that question really just ties into our
Yeah, it
topic.
was seamless, wasn't
It
it?
is, of, the three ideas and key ways to increase the value of your business. First, on that point of staff and infrastructure, right? I see a lot of business owners, especially the baby boomers, where they are the day-to-day operators. They are the technicians in their business. They're working in their business. And so that is a concept of the past. And, buyers these days and more sophisticated and coming from MBA and private equity and investment banking and operating companies, they don't want to buy a 60-hour a week job. They want to buy a company that has, the roles and the key employees in place, and they are the CEO. They are high level strategy. They are delegating their vision, that sort of thing, but they are not working in the day to day. So
Yeah.
that is something that we call a key man risk, right? If the
Mm.
business is too dependent on the owner. And so when buyers see that, not only are they going to discount the multiple, but then they're also going to include the fact that they need to hire someone to replace you. And that's going to hit your cash flow, right? If that person costs $100,000 a year, now your cash flow that they're evaluating your business on is $100,000 less. So, so that is how it gets factored into the pricing. So I would say they want to find management in place. They want to be a CEO. They don't want to be a technician.
Well, let me ask you a question here because that just rolls into this perfect question. I'm sorry, but smaller businesses that operated on that mindset where they're the technicians, they're still touching, they're still, any, God forbid anything happens to them, the business is stalled, right? But really, even back then, I know we said it's an outdated mindset, but really even back then the businesses who figured that they had to elevate themselves, the owners had figured that they had to elevate to manager status, and really create a process for doing that, they were the more successful businesses, weren't they? I think we literally just lost Adriana just right now. I'm not exactly sure what happened. So, but yeah, one of the things, while she's on her way back, I'm sure she'll be back in. But even on my side on marketing, we see that happening quite a bit with business owners where they like to touch and do everything. They want to do everything themselves. But in order for the business to grow beyond them and really multiply the revenues that they've created on their own, they really need to bring in other players in to the structure, right? And so, and she's gone again. I don't know what's going on, but we're going to keep trying, and so even on, like I said, on my side, it's been one of those big things to make sure that in order to add marketing in, we need to make sure that the business owner has great operations. Let's see if we can bring Miss Adriana back in again. Yay.
I'm
Again,
done.
I don't know what happened, but can I tell you the last crazy rainy day ugliness that we had outside? Really, it was a real shambles to our interview. So it may be the same thing
The
again.
rain.
It's, yeah,
It disrupts everything, doesn't it?
it really does. It really does. So, but yeah, even back then, the more successful businesses were the ones who had elevated to manager, right? So that was always the more successful process of multiplying yourself, and therefore your revenue,
Right.
and
That's how
making more profit.
companies
So,
that's how companies got big,
yeah,
right? But most companies are still small, right?
yeah.
There's I think 28 million small businesses in the US, but what we're used to hearing about are only the big ones. And those are a very small percentage of companies.
So that shifts right into the next question, which is how to shift their mindset.
This is something that can be difficult for business owners who are just so used to working in their businesses decades after decades. And typically, when you're operating your business, and especially with the financials, this kind of plays into point number two about financials. The business owners are usually inclined to try to reduce their tax burden, right? So they're, operating their business and they're trying to just do what they need to do, make there's money in the account, make a good living, and I don't want to pay a lot of taxes. So what that means is they'll probably run, some personal expenses through the business and decrease the profitability on the tax returns. But that mindset of low taxes is not what correlates to a high price when you go to sell your business. So that's like a key mindset shift that needs to happen. When you're going to sell your business, you want to show the most profitability. You want to show the most, revenue growth. You want to have the least amount of personal expenses flowing through your P&Ls and tax returns. And so that's a key shift, is that the business isn't just, oh, I know how it works, and I know, do I need to fix that, part of the roof? No, I don't, because I'm getting by just fine. But then, a buyer comes in, they're like, why haven't you fixed that? Or, why is there, how do I believe all of these personal expenses? And, the other part that it shoots them in the foot is, not only, I mean, in part of our process, we'll go through the financials, we'll strip out, um, personal expenses, etc.
Yeah.
But then when it comes time to get a bank loan to do the deal, to fund the deal, the bankers, they can't take all of those add backs the same way a buyer might, agree and you can prove it to them in due diligence. But
Mm,
for a bank loan, they have to go with the actual financials and the tax returns. And so sometimes what happens is maybe your business is worth a certain value, but on the paper, it's supporting a debt service amount much less. That'll make the deal not bankable. And if the
mm,
deal's not bankable, well, now you've just reduced your buyer pool significantly. And now buyers are going to ask you to carry a significant portion of the purchase price as a seller note. And so these are all situations that sellers hate, but it's all because of the mindset. So, when you're getting ready to sell, like if you do check in early, I would say, okay, have at least prepare for 3 years of, no funny business in your books and records, have very clean, transparent
yeah.
financials, and you're going to pay taxes over those few years, but you're going to get a higher price when it's time to sell.
One of the things that I'm hearing as well, and a lot of small business owners do not like to hear this because they're like, oh, it's just taking more of my money. But please bring in specialized assistance, bring in specialized help, especially in the financial and to help you with, bring in a good CFO, a good bookkeeper, a good CPA, get to know your banker, get to know them now rather than when you need them, and know them by name. Because, the thing that I love about bankers is they're almost like business coaches as well, because they want you to do well. So they have a lot of information. They know the Adriannas of the world. They know all these people that they want to suggest. And so I think that's a key factor, really bringing in specialized help. Um, you
Yes.
know, it,
Please. I always get scared when a business owner tells me that they do their books.
oh yeah, I know. That was my early
Oh,
part of my week this week. It's like, let me introduce you to some people. A
that's,
wonderful person to introduce you to,
yeah.
Um, and it's like, oh, and it's always a saving money. And I just kind of go straight there. I'm like, listen, I know in your head you're thinking I can save the money, but the reality is their rate versus what you should be making, you trying to spend time figuring it out and making mistakes that have to be fixed and get audited by is not worth it in comparison to what they can do at a snap, and also be there to advise you as well. I love that chapter in Think and Grow Rich because they seek specialized help. You may end up losing out because, I mean, pay someone's 1 hour, pay their rate, and ask them a few questions. Simple as that. Okay, well, I can't afford for them to come in and do everything. You can't afford to sit down for an hour and just
Yeah.
ask a question. Work it out how you can. I think many times small business owners don't think the Adrianas of the world will even work with them. It's like, no, we will work with you. Your business, you're doing well, So, but let's roll right into our big topic today, which is now that we've set, dropped in that backdrop, what are three things that a business owner or an aspiring entrepreneur, what are they think should they be thinking about to build value into their business?
Right. And I think that, we did, touch on the first two, one being, removing yourself as a technician, removing that key man risk, building the team around you, leveraging yourself so that you're more of the CEO. And, because the other side of that risk to a buyer is, not only, do they need to fill a hole in your business, but there's risk in the transition that if the business was reliant on you, customers, clients attached to the owner, that now when you leave, does the business leave too? So that's the other side of, that key man risk. So having, the staff in place, number one. Number two, the the clean and transparent books and records financials. I mean, I can't tell you how important that is. When it comes to a buying decision for a buyer, I would say the numbers are probably about somewhere between 85 to 90% of the decision. So they're that important, right? You can talk about all the growth and the potential. Sellers love to talk about potential. But but the thing is, potential, what does potential mean? Potential means you haven't done it yet. Therefore, it's not existing. It means
Mhm.
the buyer needs to put in time, energy, money, effort to realize. So that potential is their effort. They're not paying you for that. Okay. They have to do it. So
I
you
love that thought line, by the way, because I'm like, I didn't even think of it in that terms.
So, so that's why, we can't just all, focus on, oh, we've been around forever and oh, the potential and oh, this. What do the numbers say? The
Yeah.
numbers are the bottom line. And the more organized they are, the clearer they are, you can track that cash flow, the quicker you get your check. So they're that critical. Pay the bookkeeper, it'll pay off. It'll pay off tenfold. Um, and then the third point is growth and scalability. The only reason a buyer is really going to buy your business is that they see potential for growth. Uh, you know, People don't want a business that's one been declining. Okay, so if the business has been declining, when you see that, you really need to get all hands on deck and figure that out. Two, even when businesses are kind of flat, people wonder, is the market saturated? Is there too much competition? Is it flat and then it's going to go down? Is demand for your product or service decreasing? Is there even a market for this? So that is also a red flag. And buyers are always looking to see that, as a business owner, have you been consistently pursuing, growth in your business? Have you been trying to improve over the time period? And do you have the infrastructure in place that a buyer could come in and scale the business? So infrastructure can mean a lot of things. It can be the staff issue that we talked about. It could be systems, procedures, technology. Technology is a bigger and bigger item these days, and most of the business owners selling don't have it. Don't have any of it. And buyers will come in, well, aren't you using an inventory management system? Aren't you doing, like all of your billing is all linked to the accounting and you can just boom, boom,
Excel.
boom, those reports? No. So to the extent that businesses are, keeping up with these advances and looking for ways to be more efficient,
Yeah.
using technology for automation, um, all of that adds value, and that's what buyers want to see. They want to buy that business. They rather pay more for a business that has all of these ingredients in place than take the risk and pay a fraction on something that needs a lot of work.
Oh no, absolutely. I have a client this week, and one of the things that she said was they were going to switch their payment service area because they were going to save a bit. And I go, that's a lot of work to save a bit. If you were going to save a lot, I said, here are the words that you're even using that you're seeing without even realizing it. If you're saving a lot, then it makes sense. And are you getting more? Is there a big savings? It's like, oh, actually, no. I'm gonna have to do my own back end. I'm gonna have to do this. I'm like, so a bit is not a savings. That's like
No,
for all that time and effort to just make the transfer, and then you're only
no.
saving a bit, and then you have to do extra. You're gonna have to do work
More
now.
work, and now you're taking away from driving revenue and sales. Yeah.
And so she's like, yeah, I didn't realize that I'd been actively using the word a bit. It's like, well, I mean, because we don't hear ourselves, right? It's easier for someone else to analyze it,
For sure.
than, we're in the middle of the trenches just doing it. So, I know this topic could just go on for days because I know profitability wise and, if I could reach out to you guys again, maybe we could do another series or something. I want to do more things on money because I think the point that really drove through to me was one, I thought we were going to talk all numbers, but that first big one about mindset and letting go and really bringing in expert help to help you, that's so significant to upping the value of your business over time, right? So that was a big learning for me right there. I'd love to hear more from you guys because right now we all need to really have a great understanding of our profitability and how to build value into that business early rather than later. Oh, my dear. Okay, so any final thoughts that you have for us? Like maybe something that as a business owner is like, I'd like you to do this today. Step one, try this today.
I would say, step one is just thinking about your exit plan,
Mm,
and what, you know, when that might be. A lot of times business owners don't think about that too because they think, oh, maybe my kid or my employee who's been with me forever will take over the business. But let me tell you, most employees are not equipped to take on the risk and be responsible for a business. That's why they're an employee. So I'm going to tell you that usually never works. So the goal is start thinking about it when you would like to have it to happen, and then you can start to have the conversations with the different experts, whether you want to talk to me, even you, or how to build your exit plan so that it happens around the time you'd like as well as for the price you'd like.
I love that. I love that. And I don't think any of us thinks about that at all. I don't. I mean, I have my year in mind, but not that total. Oh, I mean, you blow my mind today with a couple of little things that I think we know quite a few things, but you really laid it out in a formula that really made sense. So thank you so much for that. By the way, do you have any webinars or anything, newsletter, any way that the viewers can stay tapped into and gather more information?
Yes, yes. So I believe I sent you the link, Paula, but we have a webinar, and that dives more into this topic about how to increase the value of your business before selling. There's a ton of great information in there. Also, you can follow us on LinkedIn and social media at First Choice Business Brokers, Los Angeles.
Fantastic. My dear, thank you so much. And, thanks to the viewers. I know a lot of you catch us on the replay because you're working, you're driving your businesses right now. My continued mission statement, as always, is to introduce you to what I like to call everyday experts and other business owners so they can share their knowledge with you about how to up level you. And of course, I inspire you with some marketing tips as well. 10 to 10 airs every Thursday at 10 a.m. live, not pre recorded or edited gorgeously on LinkedIn. Thank you, viewers, for sharing and staying strong during this period. It's remarkable to see the things that you guys are doing out there. And to do a closing quote today, I have one by Steve Jobs. The only way to do great work is to love what you do. Steve Jobs. Adrianna, thank you so much for being on. Thank you for adding value. I appreciate you, my dear.
Thank
Um,
you, Paula.
oh, definitely. And, let's keep this going. Maybe we can have you back on the show again
I
or your
love
partner or
that.
something. That would be great. Everyone have a great rest of the day. And as always, keep moving forward. Take care, everyone. Bye.
Bye.